Hello everyone, this is the BSE Sofia earnings call for the third quarter of 2019. My name is Ivo Stankov and I shall briefly present to you a short market overview and the report of the exchange for the third quarter of 2019. Today here with me is Mr. Manu Muravenov. As you probably already know, an extraordinary general meeting of the shareholders of BSE, which took place on the 17th of September, released Mr. Ivan Takev as a member of the board and CEO and elected in his place Mr. Manu Muravenov. The election was recently entered in the commercial register, so we are happy to have him as a new member, or should I say a returning member of the BSE team. Once you're familiar with our financial standing, Mr. Muravenov will present to you the progress of our ongoing projects and our plans for the future. I want to remind you that there is a number on each slide. Feel free to ask questions during the presentation, mentioning the slide number they refer to. In the end, your questions shall be addressed and answered if possible. If not, we'll obtain the necessary information and try to answer each question by email. You may ask the questions through the chat form. When you press the three-dot button, there is a second option to send a question. So, we're moving on to the presentation. The trading in the third quarter of 2019 was more active than the previous quarter. Market cap increased by 1.4% during the period, as the values of most indices calculated by BSE dropped. Only the BG rate value grew due to the type of companies comprising the index. Equity turnover grew by more than 67% compared to the second quarter of 2019. Equity trade formed nearly 87% of the total turnover in the third quarter, while the trade in most groups of financial instruments increased. As usually, financial and insurance activities occupied the top of the industry's turnover ranking for the third quarter, forming nearly 40% of the turnover. This makes the turnover and capitalization of Bulgarian Stock Exchange particularly sensitive to shocks and bad news related to the banking and insurance sectors. The number of listed issues remained the same in the period's beginning and in the end. So we're moving on to the financial standing of BSE Sofia for the third quarter. With regard to revenue, the sales revenue of the exchange decreased by 6.2% or 80,000 less, where compared to the third quarter of 2018, mainly due to a decrease in the trading fees by 26%, an increase in the information services fees by 7%, threefold growth in the issues parameters change fees, and the decrease in the online trading fees due to the discontinuation of the COBOS system. The reporting fees as an approved publication arrangement. Finance revenue increased from 1.35 million BGN to 1.77 million less. In the third quarter, they reflected the dividend income from the independent Bulgarian Energy Exchange subsidiary. The other revenue items changed insignificantly. The comparison between the structure of revenue in the third quarter of 2018 and third quarter of 2019 shows the share of each revenue item. Although at first things may seem quite different, we have prepared another chart without the finance revenue to illustrate the fact that the share of each item remains relatively stable over time. So here is the comparison between the structure of revenue in the two periods without the finance revenue. So you can see that structure is quite stable. We're moving on to cost. The main expenditure items increased by 5% compared to the third quarter of 2018. Hired services grew by 99,000 less, or 15%, while other operating expenses decreased by 18,000 less. The change in the remaining expenditure items was insignificant. So here is again a chart to illustrate the comparison between the cost in the third quarter of 2018 and third quarter of 2019, and it shows a stable structure of cost. Here is some information about the financial results of the exchange. At the end of September 2019, the net financial result achieved by Bulgarian Stock Exchange was positive to the amount of 1.25 million BGN, which is mainly due to increased financial revenue, operating cost increase, and declining operating revenue. As at the 30th of September of 2018, the operating loss of Bulgarian Stock Exchange amounted to 379,000 levs, and in the current period, the operating loss was 507,000 levs. The operating loss is mainly due to the slight decline in operating income, accompanied by an increase in hired services fees related to the implementation of the trading platform T7 and the trade surveillance system. The total assets of Bulgarian Stock Exchange at the end of the third quarter of 2019 were 506,000 levs, or 4% higher than the value at the end of 2018. There is an increase of 638,000 BGN, or 7% in non-current assets, due to the reporting of the trading system and the trading supervision system as intangible assets. There were also minor changes in other items in non-current assets. The current assets decreased by 5%, or 132,000 levs, due to a 47,000 decline in trade receivables. Other receivables and prepaid expenses increased by 80,000 levs. At the same time, cash and cash equivalents decreased by 132,000 levs. As at the 30th of September 2019, as well as at the end of 2018, the company had no term deposits with banks. Regarding liabilities, the value of retained profits at the end of 2018 was 379,000 levs, while its value at the end of the current quarter amounted to 1.2 million levs. The equity increased accordingly with 1.05 million levs. The profit accumulated at the end of the third quarter of 2019 is due to operating activities from the current period. Current liabilities decreased by 45%, or 543,000 levs, while the non-current liabilities did not change. During the current period, the third and the last installment of the liability to the Bulgarian Energy Holding related to the acquisition of the IBEX subsidiary capital, due in August 2019, was paid. Current liability to suppliers and other creditors decreased accordingly. We're moving to the shareholder structure of the BSE. As you can see, there are no major changes to the shareholder structure of Bulgarian Stock Exchange, and it remains stable over time. We'll now make an overview of the trade in BSE's own shares. Our ticker is BSO, and the trade in the third quarter was less active than in the previous one. The average Q3 price was 5.197 levs per share. The price at the end of the quarter decreased by 0.068 levs per share, or 1.3%, from 5.218 levs closing price on the 28th of June to 5.15 BGN per share on the 30th of September. The minimum price per share was 4.90 and the maximum was 5.50. A total of 35,674 shares were transferred in 72 trades. The total turnover was 185,408 levs, which in comparison to the 58,836 shares transferred in 204 trades and the total turnover of 292,284 levs during the second quarter, marked a volume decrease by 39%, decrease in the turnover by 37%, and the drop in the number of trades by 65%. Shares were traded in 22 out of a total of 64 sessions during the reported third quarter. And here is a quick summary of the data regarding the trade in BSE's own shares during the third quarter of 2019. I shall now let Mr. Manu Muravenov, the CEO of the exchange, present to you the progress of our ongoing projects and our plans for the future. Mr. Muravenov?
Hello. We shall begin with an update of development of the Seedling cross-border trading platform. The joint trading platform of currently 7 stock exchanges in Southeastern Europe, Seedling, continues to be one of the major projects on which BSE is working. In the second half of 2019, an agreement was signed under which Raiffeisen Bank International Operations Center will act as settlement agent for trades executed on C-Link. Raiffeisen Bank is one of the leading custodian banks in Central and Eastern Europe and has already linked up with 10 central securities depositories and in 10 countries of the region to provide its clients with easy access to those markets. Several meetings are planned by the end of 2019, gathering the leaders of the founding exchanges of the project who will look for solutions how to make the C-Link a successful regional platform for cross-border trading of financial instruments. Other focus areas. In the past quarter, BSE continues to work on the following projects: improving technological development and trading conditions for financial instruments, development of SMEs growth market BEAM, preparing to register as a benchmark administrator. With regards to improving technological development, we took the following steps. On the 24th of June, BSE successfully migrated to the next generation etc. trading system, the T7 platform. In October, an upgrade to version 8 of the platform was successfully implemented. Skilla surveillance system is successfully operating as the market surveillance system. We are happy to see more brokers implementing a number of direct market access platform and trading tools and back office platforms based on T7 and fixed and AT messaging protocols, as it was our main goal to provide more flexibility to our members and the market participants. The main focus of BSE in the second half of 2019, as well as in 2020, will be the promotion of the SME growth market BEAM. A number of meetings with potential issuers as well as venture capital funds were held. As a result, SMEs with growth potential that have the ability to raise capital through the BEAM market have been identified. The first SME public offering through the growth market is expected to happen in early 2020. Under the EU benchmark regulation, benchmark administrators are required to apply for authorization before the 30th of December 2019. Two benchmarks are currently calculated by BSE, SOFIX and BGTR 30. BSE is finalizing the rules and procedures that the benchmark administrator must develop. So far, we have received preliminary approval by the set rules with the regulator. BSE believes that there are no obstacles to reach full compliance with the regulatory requirements before the end of 2019.
Thank you, Mr. Morovenov. Okay, let's see if we have any questions so far. Okay, since there are no other questions, please feel free to contact us by email or by phone. This is all for today. Thank you for being with us, and see you again next year at the beginning of February, when will be the earnings call for the fourth quarter of 2019. Thank you very much and have a great day.